Hello, 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 and welcome back to this beautiful video on this beautiful channel. And today we are gonna do a used sci-fi material. For this, I have built myself just like on top of my default cube that I usually use, just some plates so that we can see basically how the deformation works. And yeah, let's build this, right? It's gonna be a longer tutorial again, so strap yourself in for this. First of all, let's go to render view. Obviously, you can already see the material I built underneath it, but it doesn't matter because we will be focusing on the top part. First of all, we want to grab two bevel nodes. I will also make this a tiny bit larger. And I'm going to disable that. And we need this part right here. For now, we can turn it off. We will duplicate the bevel, set one to very small to 0, leave that on 4 samples, the bigger one we put to 2 samples, and then we select both, Control 0, change the mix from mix to difference, you know the drill, plug it up, and let's preview it. That's basically gonna be our edge fading mask, which we now will distort. Let's bring in a color ramp for this to make this a bit, flip it and bring it closer. Something like this. This looks pretty good. We keep it like this. Okay. Now we need to start building our noise maps, obviously, because we want to distort this, right? Because we want like a nice edge crease. Then let's start with a normal noise texture. Bring this in. Control T, delete the mapping. We don't need that. Plug on the object into the vector. And scale to around 27 to 30, depends on how big your object is. You can, of course, always adjust these scales, right? That's what I'm telling you every time. Don't use my values, use your values that look good for you. Don't use what I do. Just use my method. Detail to the max, roughness down to 0.4, and we need another color ramp, so we're just going to duplicate this, plug this here, reset, factor into factor, and let's preview it. Want this to be more contrasty, so probably something like this is probably quite nice. Yes. Okay. Then we can already select those two and press Ctrl 0 and change this from mix to lighten. And then plug it up to the factor of 1. And now you can see we will start deleting stuff off the edge crease. Obviously, this is not enough whatsoever, and we need to build this more. So what we'll do, we'll just bring in another noise texture. It's the vector, and we want a Voronoi texture for this. So let's bring this in, factor into vector. We can duplicate this right here, reset, distance into vector, and let's preview it. Still not what we want. Put down the scale to a 3. Detail can stay. Roughness goes back up to 5. And this scale goes to 3. And we want to flip this. And we want to bring this very, very close to here. Let's see, something like... No, sorry, I need to change this from this to distance to edge. We want that, and now you can see what I mean. It's very close, something like this. And move this a bit closer because we need a lot of space for this. This outwards, and again, select both, Control 0, change the blending mode to lighten, and factor of 1, and you can see we just start slowly getting rid of our black edge crease. Again, duplicate the noise texture for the third and last time. Bring this up a bit here. Bring this down. Thank you. Object into vector. This time we want a mask graph texture. Bring in that mask graph texture. Put it here. Factor in vector. Duplicate the color ramp. Reset it again. Height into factor. Preview. We want this scale of 5.5. Detail max as always. dimension of 0.5. And this stays at 2. We want this to stay the same. And now we basically what we want to do is we want to do something like this. Yeah, more or less something like this. And we want to change this to multifractal. We just have these bigger islands that we now will use as a lighten map. And again, both change the blending mode to lighten and put this to 1. You can now, of course, play with the scale here. You can make this bigger, smaller. But I like it at 5.5. You can, of course, change this for 4D and move this if you really want to. Don't like the position of it that it has. But for now, let's leave it at that. And this already looks like a way better edge crease. Okay. Now, what do? We can move that and just put this up here, because we need to do with this a lot. Okay, let's do the base color. So we have a base color. Shift A, color ramp. Put this here. And now this first color is going to be the color of the metal that is like of the material that is under our main color. So for me, it will be like something like metal. So I'll use like a gray, and we can use for the other one. I'm going to just use red because you can actually see that. You can also use like a blue, light blue, or a green, or anything for that matter. I'm just going to use like red, like this, right here. And let's plug this in the base color, and let's preview it. Looks pretty cool. Doesn't look cool enough though. Why? Because this needs a bump map. So let's bring in a bump map. Plug it in normal, strength of 0.4, and we'll leave it for now there. We can, we can just plug it in already. Okay, bump map done. What else do we need? Well, we need imperfections for this beautiful beautiful roughness map, right? So, what do? We stack noise maps again. Right, let's bring in a noise map. We need 3 of those. It's gonna be taking 3 of them. Let's bring in a texture coordinate node, delete the mapping again, you know the drill. I'll work into vector for 3. View the first. Scale of 3. Detail of max. Roughness of 0.2. Distortion of 0.4. For the second one, scale of 5. Detail goes to max. Roughness of 0.3. Distortion of 0.4. And sorry, no texture here. We need a Musgrave texture here. Object goes into vector again though. Scale of 12.5. Detail max. Dimension 0.5. Let's preview it so you know what I'm doing. And this to 1.5. And now what we're gonna do is, again, we're gonna bring in a color ramp, because color ramps are our friend. And we're gonna duplicate that 3 times. Oops, that's what I wanted it to, but that's fine. And we will just bring this for most of them just up and just make it a bit tighter so that these look more like, so these have more black colors and more white colors. Just make them look like they have contrast more. Now, what we'll do again? Right, we're bringing the mix mode. Or rather, we just select both and press Ctrl 0 and change this from mix to lighten and put this to 1, and we'll do it second time for this and lighten 1. Now you can see this will be our roughness map, obviously, right? Because this has everything that we need for it, because it has imperfections, and we can now use this to put the roughness map. But we don't want to use these colors. We want to have an extra security measure in place so we can control better, put in a color ramp. Color into roughness. Preview it. Because this is obviously way too rough, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put the first one to white. The second one we'll do a slight gray. Something like this. This is already enough. This is already enough. You can, of course, push this closer, push this like not as close as you want. You can bring up the contrast if you want to. That is up to you, how you want to handle this, but I think that this looks pretty cool. It gives like a nice imperfection on the whole matter. The only issue is that you will now see that our metal part is not overly rough, right? Or at least we haven't done it, we haven't given it a metal part. Well, how do we do that? We bring in a color ramp again. Color ramp here, flip the color ramp, color into metal, and this into that color ramp. And now you can see we can just bring this together, and this one is now metal. It is still not shiny because we have gotten rid of this shine. So what do? We just bring it back. And how do we do that? We select these two, Control 0. That is not what I wanted. I wanted to select... I mean, we can just do this, just make it manual. Control 0, bring this in. And then this one needs to go into the top part, that is correct. Put this to darken to 1 and just plug in that into the bottom one. And this obviously doesn't look cool, so what we're gonna do is we'll grab a color ramp, plug this into here. Yeah, we definitely need more space, I'm seeing, so let's just bring this upward a bit, bring that upwards a bit. And what we're going to do here is we'll just gonna be flipping this again and just bring this. Alright, we don't need to flip it, sorry. Just bring this very close to here. And we'll put in the math node to just get rid of like... So like just some of it. So you have like a bit shiny material. So now your metal is shiny. That is what we wanted. But we can still add one more layer of imperfections, and that is some dust layer. And this obviously needs to go into the base color, so what we're gonna do is we just bring this here, Control 0, bring in a mix node, use, plug this from color 1 to color 2, factor to 1, and we'll use, mix is fine for this. You just select the color of the dust you want. We're gonna do something like this. And then let's bring in an ambient occlusion node, right? Just ambient occlusion nodes are fun. Plug this here, get in a color ramp, plug that there, bring it a bit back, AO into factor, we can preview it, bring this up to roundabout here, so that you see that these edges will get darker, right? You see that, how all these edges get darker? Bring this round up to here, and then plug that into that, preview it, preview that, sorry. And now we can do this again. No, not in color, we want this into that. Apologies. Duplicate that. Again, change the color. Bring this up. And we want a noise map, because we want to add some more, like just variety into here. Control T, texture coordinate, object into vector, vector into factor, and now you can basically see how this has just gone very, very muddy. I'm just gonna use a color ramp to control this. That's not that's the way I wanted it in here. So just bring these two closer. Something around here, yeah, looks pretty cool. And now we can change the scale, bring this to like 17, max detail, roughness of 0.65, distortion of 1.2, and you can see we have these small dust things on here now. And voila! Your Sci-Fi material is finished. You can of course multiply vertex color into this if you want like a small like, what you could do. This is just like in theory. I'm not gonna do this like for the material, but I'm showing you what you could do. You could bring in another mix node here. Let's set it into that color and then just get a color attribute node. And that into color 1, and then just you select this. Obviously, you know how the drill works. Random V color, 0 saturation, island, and then you can play with this and give some more depth there. You could do that. For this material that I'm planning, I don't need it. You could do that. But yeah, this is your beautiful sci-fi material that has some edge wear, that has some beautiful cracks and stuff, and it has imperfections. I hope you can use it in your project, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.